I mean, Kyle Shanahan needs to take a look back at the last 5 or 6 years in San Francisco and ask himself, how did I get talked off of Kirk Cousins to Jimmy Garoppolo, and how did I get talked off of Mac Jones to Trey Lance? For as good as that team has been, they have been a disaster at the quarterback position. However, because people say, oh, you're not criticizing the 49ers enough for how badly they got it wrong with Trey Lance. Well, I think we've been criticizing them plenty, but the balance to that is
they're in the
NFC
Championship game.
With the very last pick in the draft.
Oh, yeah.
With the very last pick in the draft in 2022, they get Brock Purdy, who by all appearances is everything Kyle Shanahan's always been looking for.
Right.
As long as he stays healthy.
Right. It didn't work. Listen, I'm not going to fault the 49ers for swinging for the fences and trying to get a guy, like you said, that they didn't have to. Because, listen, I hear everybody go, well, and I'm kind of sick of this. All Jimmy G did is win games. Okay. So, look at the games.
Yeah,
how many games did we watch and go, they won in spite of him, right? I mean, we were at the Minnesota playoff game. He threw 3 balls right into the chest of the Minnesota Vikings players. Shanahan said, you know what?
Same guy.
I'm going to
Eric
run
Kendricks.
it. Right. I'm going to run it every play the rest of the game. And then the next week in the NFC Championship game, he said, I still don't trust it. I'm going to run it every play in that game. I mean, come on. They've won games where Jimmy Garoppolo did the Green Bay divisional game a few years ago. He threw one of the dumbest interceptions you'll ever see. He threw a dumb interception in the Rams NFC Championship game. He, of course, missed
Cowboys game. Right. Tried to blow the Cowboys game.
Exactly right. We could go through it. So for people to say all he did was win games, I want to go, listen, sure, he won games.
That is so lazy.
It is
lazy. That is such a lazy take.
It is.
And it's right. I see. I try not to watch much of anyone else or anything else. I don't want other ideas to be infecting ours, and I don't want to use this 2 hours to be shooting down what other people say when I see things I disagree with. But there is some lazy shit out there right now, and this idea that all Jimmy does is win games shows no appreciation of what it means to play quarterback, what kind of team the 49ers have around the quarterback.
Right.
That's why when I say, for as much as you know, I believe there are limits on what Kirk Cousins can do. If Kirk Cousins had become the 49ers quarterback in 2018 when he emerged via free agency from Washington, they would have 2 Super Bowl championships with Kirk Cousins. Not because of him, but because he's good enough to do all the stuff to get you to victory because all the other guys around him are so damn good. It's not him making this huge throw in a huge spot. He doesn't need to. Just stay healthy and stay on the field.
Exactly.
And you're going to win championships if you're Kirk Cousins with Kyle Shanahan and that defense.
Exactly. It's again, this is a guy that made Matt Schaub look like an all-pro every year. And down in Houston, he was throwing for 4,000 yards, number 1 offensive football. RG3 comes in the league and reinvent an offense, do whatever. Matt Ryan, career's kind of fluttering. Damn, he's the best quarterback in football, wins the MVP. I mean, yeah, he knows how to, coach an offense and do that. He just wants a guy to listen to him and run the offense. And, yes, he's missed some opportunities to get some guys that I think could have done it better. You're right. There's no doubt about that. He knows that. He does. But, yeah, and that's, where you go into back to the take there. You go, well, now all Brock Purdy does is win football games. And that's why he'll continue to win football games because, like you were saying just a second ago, Mr. Irrelevant he's a gym rat. Wait, Kyle said do this. Kyle said look at that. Okay, and he can take it onto the field and do it just like that and be almost like an extension of the coaching staff. And that's what – offensive coordinators like Shanahan and McDaniels and some of Sean Payton, they want their quarterbacks to be like that. And that's what he's got here, and that's why Brock Purdy's the man. And Sam Darnold, has more of that than Trey Lance, and that's why, Sam Darnold is the second-string guy.
It's what Rex Grossman said in 2011 after the lockout ended. He was confident he was going to win the starting job in Washington. Why? Because I will run Kyle's offense exactly the way he wants it to be run.
Right.
That is how you become the starting quarterback, and that's what Brock Purdy is going to be. That's what Kirk Cousins would have been. That's exactly what Kirk Cousins would have been, and that's what Jimmy Garoppolo tried to be, but he couldn't pull it off because in those moments where things got screwy, he would do something stupid, which explains why. When the 49ers beat the Packers 37-20 in the NFC Championship, you would think 37-20. Okay, starting quarterback was probably 25 for 33 for 348 yards and 3 touchdowns and maybe 1 interception. Who knows? Jimmy Garoppolo in that game, even though the 49ers put up 37 points, was 6 for 8. Not in the first quarter. Not in the first quarter.
I know. We laughed about it.
6 for 8 in the entire game. He was Bob Greasy. The only thing that was missing that would have made him Bob Greasy with those big-ass glasses Greasy used to wear while he was playing. That was all that was separating Garoppolo from Bob Greasy. So, yeah, they set offensive football back 50 years. And it wasn't Shanahan. It was Garoppolo. He no longer trusted Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, Garoppolo was on the verge of being the Super Bowl MVP that year until he missed wide open Emmanuel Sanders with a championship throw that he failed to make. And I know you guys give me a hard time about that from time to time, but that's the day.
No,
that's the time.
I hear you.
When you're a kid, you're counting it down. 5, 4, 3. You got one shot in your life to make that throw, and he didn't make it. And I think between that and the injuries, they decided they're going to go on to someone else, and it just didn't work. Here is Kyle Shanahan from KNBR yesterday on why it didn't work out with the guy they traded up to get with the 3rd overall pick in the 2021 draft.
You know, looking at our roster and everything, that we felt it was important with our roster going forward that eventually we were going to need a quarterback on a rookie deal if we wanted to keep this team. And we made that decision back in after the 20 season, and we weren't going to look back after that. And Trey was the guy we went with, and we thought we would mix him in and ease him into some stuff the first year with a couple packages and stuff, but we didn't believe anyone we would have taken would have beaten out Jimmy that first year, and that's kind of how it looked, starting early in practice. And Trey did play a little bit earlier in the year, but when he broke his finger, it really kind of messed him up and took away that first year for him, where he had to overcompensate on some things, and it really kind of hurt him working through that. And it affected him all the way into the offseason going into year 2. But year 2 was the time that he did have the job. We were giving it to him. We were 100% committed, and we were tailoring everything for him. And yeah, he was working an uphill battle because of his finger stuff that he went through the first year, and how that had slowed down his process of just where he thought he would be. So he was a little behind on that, but Trey, the type of guy he is, the competitor, what he could do with his legs, we still felt confident that he would get it as the year went. And then he broke his ankle in the second game. And when he did that, it took away another year for him to develop, and that was unfortunate. So he missed 2 years to develop, not to mention the COVID year of his last year in college. So now he'd gone 3 years without it, and that opened up an opportunity for Brock.
Okay. Look, I made this comment yesterday when we were discussing the aftermath of this. Kyle Shanahan is one of those guys, in my opinion, who has mastered the hard parts of the job, but trips over the easy parts of the job. And it was all laid out in that soundbite we just played. They wanted to have a quarterback under a rookie contract. Fine. Why do you trade up to number 3 to do that? You're sitting at 12. Just stay put. Just stay put and see how the board plays out. When you move up to number 3, you create expectations in your fan base. This is basic common sense, human nature stuff. You don't go make that move to number 3 and then put him on ice for a year. Nobody was going to beat out Jimmy Garoppolo. Then why the hell are you moving up to number 3 to get him? Why are you desperate to make this move and throwing multiple first-round picks into this pot to move from 12 to 3? Stay put at 12 and see what happens. And you know what? If you don't like the guy at 12, scout all the quarterbacks. Maybe you'll get a guy with the last pick in the draft who'll come in and sit behind Jimmy Garoppolo for a year and then take over next year. That, to me, is astounding, that their strategy for dealing with this, knowing full well, if he's telling the truth, that no one was going to beat out Jimmy Garoppolo in 2021, it makes it even more curious and confounding that they gave up what they did to move up and take a guy who wasn't going to play that year. You can't do that in today's NFL. You can't create that expectation. This isn't Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes. This is, we're done with Jimmy Garoppolo. We're not giving him one more year, and we're not going to put this guy on ice that we've given up so much to get, especially when he didn't play in 2020. He needs reps. He needs to play. So,
well, those are the things that make me think the mind was changed maybe during the process, right? Like you're talking about, right? I mean, because maybe, hey, with a guy like, if it was Mac Jones, you're not thinking that, like, oh no, he's got to play. And honestly, I think Mac Jones would be the kind of guy that Shanahan would like, right? Kirk Cousins type there, just going to do exactly what you say, processes it, boom, all over it, got natural feel for the game. But I mean, listen, Mike, I know what you're saying. It didn't work out. But I think at the time, too, there was some rumors kind of swirling, percolating. One, that Atlanta at number 4 really liked Trey Lance, so maybe there was a thought there. There was also a thought that New England was hot on Mac Jones and that they were looking to make a move up in the draft there and kind of position themselves to get him. And I think maybe that was probably, or not, I don't think, I think that was the reason Shanahan and them moved up and made the aggressive move so they can make sure out of the remaining 3, not named Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson, that they could have their pick of the litter. But you're right, and I'm not disagreeing with you that it sets expectations and it put more pressure on the situation. They made an aggressive move. They thought, they could get it right and change their franchise for a long, long time. It didn't work out. It didn't. And, yeah, they're paying for it, and they're still having to deal with talking about it and the repercussions of all of it.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.